Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Inksplosion. This just came out on Wednesday. I apologize if this looks like it takes a while to get to you, but... well, let me put it this way, Flashpoint has had me just bloody flat out. So, there's something I want to show you real quick just to give you an idea of what we're working with. So if I go to the game stats down here, it'll actually remove all of the ink splats from the screen right there. Now, you might be looking at that playtime and thinking, oh, he's just being lazy, he hasn't played enough of the game, yada 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 yada. Let me stop you right there. I've played all the modes, I've killed all the enemies at least 50 times each, except that one little tiny weird skull there. And I've platinumed the game. No, I'm not kidding. I managed to platinum the game inside of 20 minutes of playtime. That is... I gotta admit, for someone who doesn't usually platinum games, that is gonna stick out. Like, hang on. Just let me refresh this here, because the game won't actually let you online while you're in it. So let me just refresh that so you can see the feed update with all my trophies. Oh no, it doesn't seem to actually want to update, but seriously. I started playing it 35 minutes ago. I got the trophy 6 minutes ago. So half an hour. Not barely even that. That's insane, honestly. Even for a game you pay $5 for, that's... well, for a game you pay $5 for, that's insane. Maybe 99 cents on a phone? Now, you may notice that all the ink splats disappeared. Did you notice the how to play option in the top right there was almost completely invisible? It might not actually be that bad on the screen you're watching this video on, but on the Vita screen at minimum brightness, which is usually what I play them on, at least the fat screen on minimum brightness, that was fucking invisible. I swear to God, I did not see that until I came back here to actually record this video and let the ink splats go on long enough. And the funny thing is, that would have actually been useful, because it actually tells you how to slow down time, which I didn't figure out until, again, after I platinumed the fucking game.
Inksplosion.
Let's just go into classic mode, because that's like the main mode you'll be playing at least for a little bit after you open the game up. Because the rest of the game's modes are locked until you earn a certain amount of points in each mode. As you can see, I've earned just barely over the minimum needed to unlock the next mode in the line. But nevertheless, this is Inksplosion. It is a very simple twin-stick shooter. You move with the left, aim with the right stick. Notably, you have to hold the R button to actually fire the gun, which is weird because in pretty much every other twin-stick shooter I've played on this platform, that hasn't happened, and I'm not entirely sure why that's a thing, because I can't imagine any point in this game where you would want to stop firing, but nevertheless. So the general idea is you got to get as much score as possible. How do you do that? By beating enemies. The more enemies you beat without taking a hit, the more multiplier you get. Pretty simple stuff. You have a health bar up the top there, take a hit, and you not only lose your multiplier, but you lose a bit of health. You get health back when you defeat enemies, and once you've beaten enough enemies, once you've beaten all the enemies in a stage, it'll move you to the next stage. The stages are very repetitive because they've only included something like a dozen of them, so there's not really that much to actually play here. You'll have seen everything there is to see in this mode within the first few minutes. Of course, I died because I suck at this game, but somehow still managed to get the platinum inside of 20 minutes. This could be a decent speedrun game, actually, although you'd probably have people just outright flooring it and just, like, winning incredibly fast. Like, getting 100,000 points on every mode, for example. Let's give this another shot. It is actually kind of hard to aim with the analog sticks because, well, I mean, it's the Vita's analog stick, so it's not great to aim with to begin with, but it doesn't seem to have any kind of aim compensation, which would be really useful on a twin-stick shooter on the Vita. Especially when you've got this pissy little crosshair right here, which immediately gets lost in all the ink. And that's going to be my major, well, not my major complaint. I have a major complaint, but I'm not going to go on about it just yet. But that's one of my complaints. The ink in this game, which just slowly but surely fills up the background as you go along, makes it really hard to pay attention because, sure, all the bullets and stuff have pretty big black lines around the outside of them, so they're not completely invisible, but with all the different splashes of color that you've got going on, it can get really fucking hard to see any of the bullets that are coming at you, because you're often going to have more than a few bullets coming at you at any one time, and with all this goddamn ink everywhere, it means that your eyes are going to get distracted by all the visual flare, and you're not going to be able to see too much because you're too busy trying to find stuff, and you've got all of this bloody ink everywhere just trying to distract you, and it's really frustrating if you want me to be perfectly honest. I know that I'm not the best when it comes to eyesight in games like this, like how I complained about the backgrounds in Persona 4 Dancing All Night being too bright, and literally no one agreed with me on that, despite the fact that it was pretty obvious. But still, in this game it is pretty notable and actually kind of a pain in the ass to deal with. You know what's even worse pain in the ass to deal with though? The game's performance. Watch my character movement. I'm going to move around in circles for a bit. See how smooth that is? Now look what happens when the ink starts to show up. Not only does it make the game's performance lag to all hell, and it isn't just the ink, it's literally as soon as the enemies start spawning in, the game starts to just go to hell. But the performance in this game is really bad. You start out with it being really smooth. Like, I'll do it again. Watch. Smooth. Slowly getting less smooth, and it just continues to get less smooth. And it's really, really bad. Like, honestly, it makes the game really sluggish underneath the fingers. Aiming becomes even more of a chore than it already is. And the bullets just become really stuttery and unmanageable, and it all goes to hell really damn quick. And it's not fun to play at all, if I'm being perfectly honest. Arena mode is basically the same game, but without the changing level layouts. You do get random enemies spawning in on different points of the square, but every time they spawn in a new wave, your weapon changes. Your weapon also changes every time you change levels after you've already beaten a wave of dudes, but it's still basically the same thing. You have a few different weapons. You have the laser gun, you have the distance gun, you have the regular gun, you have the shotgun, and you have the normal gun? Was it what they call it? Might have been the rocket gun. I don't remember what I just bloody said 5 seconds ago, but yeah. Basically all the weapons in this game are crap for the most part. They all do the same amount of damage, for one thing, which is disappointing, because you would hope that a weapon like, say, the rocket gun, which is inherently slower than all the other weapons and therefore should have more damage, doesn't get more damage. You also have all of the weapons except for the shotgun having roughly the same distance. Like, I'm on the normal gun right now, and it still goes all across the screen. Then they have a weapon that's specifically called the distance gun, which simply does more, which simply has more distance in a game where you never have to leave the same square, so therefore it doesn't really matter.
Game over.
Then you've got the laser gun, which literally goes all the way across the screen. But again, still the same damage, so it's not like it matters. Then you've got the shotgun, which fires out 3 bullets in a spread. So you do more damage with that gun, but all the individual bullets still do the same amount of damage. So you can tell it was just a fair bit of laziness on their part. So all of your weapons in this game, well, they aren't really different weapons. They're just weapons that are slightly faster or slower to get to the enemy. More or less, except for the shotgun. And basically, playing with the rockets in this game is really painful, just because they take an absolute age to get out of your actual character and get across the screen to where your enemies are. And that means that every time the rocket gun comes up in game, it just makes me go, oh, for God's sake, I have to use the fucking rocket gun again. That's pretty much my entire experience with this game in a nutshell. Oh, I have to do this again, I have to do this again.
Shotgun.
Funnily enough, the ink doesn't affect the performance at all. I saw it there. You get really smooth as soon as the enemies go away. Then as soon as they start spawning back in again, it just goes to shit. What is it about the enemies that makes it all go to shit? At least the enemies aren't too bad, but at the same time, they aren't particularly interesting either. They just have a couple of different bullet patterns. And it's not like Geometry Wars, where you start enjoying all the individual designs and you immediately have an idea of what's going on. It's because you have 4 enemies spawning in at the same time, you don't really have the ability to pay attention to all of them specifically. You just kind of have to work your way away from the enemies as fast as you possibly can, and then just fire in their general direction, because you don't get that much time to avoid bullets, and the lag doesn't really help out that much at all. And I haven't shown off the slow down time power, but there's a reason for that. It actually drains your health, and that makes it surprisingly unusable, because you want to hang on to as much of your health as you possibly can, because you just end up in the annoying position where you'll end up like a couple of shots from death half the time, just because there are some bullets you couldn't possibly see coming. So using that is actually more of a detriment to you, just because of the way it all works, and it's really frustrating, honestly. And then you've got hard mode, which is basically the same game, but you take more damage. So even when you're using the time dilation power-up, it means that you end up taking more damage just for using it. And in a game mode where you can literally get killed in one shot, well, you can't get killed in one shot unless you've already taken a hit, but you will lose like 90% of your health bar in one shot, which is almost the same thing. Like, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's almost the same thing. And it means that the time dilation power-up is not only useless, but as I already said, I didn't know it existed until I'd already platinumed the game. Or at the very least, I was very close to it. There might have been some trophy for using the time dilation power-up, but oh well. Graphically, the game isn't very interesting. Like, it's pretty neat that all the ink is going on in the background there, but as I said before, it does more to distract than it does to impress. And with all of the enemies being visually uninteresting as well, it just doesn't really appeal to me that much. Combine that with all the weapons basically having no kick or ebb to them, and, you know, not having anything visually interesting outside of the ink going on, and it's not really that great a look at, which doesn't justify its performance slowdowns in the slightest. Combine that with the game's audio. Now, the sound in this game, the soundtrack, I should say, the music, is completely unmemorable, and I do not care for it in the slightest. What really brings this game down a level, though, is the completely and utterly unenthusiastic SOB that they got in for the narration. He sounds completely uninterested. Even by my standards, he sounds completely uninterested. And we all know how bad I am about sounding uninterested, don't we? So, it means that the game is just, yeah, you saw hard mode there, how I was basically taking massive amounts of damage with each shot. We'll just go back to the regular mode. But yeah, you can hear him being really unenthusiastic about the whole thing, and it doesn't help. It really doesn't. I could do better audio narration on the fly. Shotgun! Fucking distance gun! Normal gun! Multiplier up. He doesn't even say that. Like, seriously, I don't know why he doesn't say that, but he doesn't say it. Also, I'm kind of screwed here. I have to take the hit.
Normal gun.
But yeah, he doesn't really make you feel that into it, I gotta say. Like, he's not interesting in the slightest. Also, his narration is kind of bugged. If you pay attention when you start playing the, arena mode, he'll actually say shotgun first up, even if you don't get the shotgun. And it makes no sense. I'm guessing some wires got crossed and they accidentally put in a certain sound clip there, instead of saying, like, arena mode or something.
Shotgun.
But yeah, you've literally seen all there is to see, so next time I die, I'm just gonna stop the video, because seriously, that's all there is. You've seen every enemy type, you've seen every mode, you've heard everything I have to say about this game, all in the span of 15 minutes. This is not worth $5. It really isn't. Like, I feel bad for anyone who picks this up expecting it to last longer than 20 minutes, but good God, like, I never platinum games, so imagine what people are going to think before I put this video out. My trophy syncs to the servers automatically, and they think, oh, he actually went to the effort of finishing it? He must have really liked it. Then the video comes out. I have nothing positive about this game to say whatsoever, except that the ink blots in the background look kind of nice.
Shotgun.
And even then, it just screws you. Apparently I managed to break my high score. I don't even know how I did that.
Rocket gun.
See, your shotgun can even still reach from the top to the bottom of the screen, so it's not like it's a massive deal that it has no range on it. Compare that to the rocket gun. Now, these enemies aren't too bad because they're not moving, but when they do move and you have to fire the rocket at them and you're halfway across the stage, they might just well dodge out of the way before the rocket even gets there. See, I'm surrounded on all sides here. I'm just gonna die. Fuck it. There we go. That was a look at Inksplosion. It's really not worth your time. it's not really worth the $5. And all of the reasons that I would say that have been thoroughly explained in this 15-minute video. So, this has been Blue Maxima. I will try and get videos out more regularly, but Flashpoint, as I said, is making me go flat out recently. I'll see you all next time.